Hey, Pete here for Studio Live today, and I am back. But where have I been, you may be asking? Well, I've been on a work trip for the last 3 days, which means that I haven't been able to make any videos, but I have been able to work on this song. So unfortunately it hasn't been on camera because that was a little bit awkward. But what I'm going to do in this video is take you through what I've done in the last 3 days. For this song, we are close to getting all the instrumental stuff done, and then we're going to move on and record some nice vocals. So stick around in this video because I need your feedback and your opinions on all of the moves I've made to make sure they're right, and you can tell me what I need to change and what I need to keep the same and what I need to add to make this a great song. So let's go. Hello, so here I am back in the studio after being away for a few days, and what I'm about to do in this video is go through some of the things that I've added in, changed. I've done some mixing, I've added in some parts. I think it's all coming together pretty well. But before I get started today, I wanted to shout out to all of the people that have been watching the series all the way through, providing some great comments, some suggestions, some feedback. So I'm going to miss and forget a bunch of people here. So if I do, feel free to abuse me in the comments and tell me that I missed your amazing tip and throw it down there. And then in the next video, I can return and make up for any errors that I've made. So I wanted to say thank you to Jose Flores. You've provided some great support. You had the tip about adding additional drum tracks if you want an extra cymbal hit. Ponk80, you added the same tip and have provided a whole bunch of feedback right throughout this process. So changing the tambourine to a bell sound, which I've been playing around with a bit in the drums. You'll hear some of that here today. We've got Chipperoo, who likes the intro. So I did ask a few videos back who likes the intro, who doesn't, and the majority of folks seem to like it. Some people said it needed to change or needed to go. I have made some changes to the intro. You'll see all of that in just a moment. So thank you for that. You did also mention that you weren't sure on the bassoon and strings. I'm still not sure on those, so we're going to be giving those some attention, and the lyrics are a little wordy, and I don't disagree with that. That's going to be a challenge to sing those in the next video, but hang around and we'll do that. We've got Danny Elliott, so he gave the idea of it's just the toms only on the bridge. At the moment it's toms and snare. Been playing around with a bit of that. I'll show you what that sounds like now. He suggested the follow option for drums, which worked amazingly well, and he reckoned an organ instead of a piano, which I haven't quite done, but I have added in some organ. We'll be checking that out in a moment as well. We've got Riley Griffith adding a shaker. I do want to add back some shakers and some other percussion in there, and Riley, you've been a great supporter all the way through. James Moon, your support and encouragement throughout this has been amazing as well. You've got the idea, you gave me the idea of playing through the song at the end of every video, which I've been doing for the last few, and folks seem to be enjoying hearing how it changes and comes together each video, so thank you for that. Marion McCready, you've always got positive things to say, and you always make me laugh in your comments, so keep that coming. You've had some great suggestions for the song as well. Tim Stagray has been one of my supporters for over a year now, I reckon. Tim, you always come in, you're always providing great support and encouragement and ideas that I can implement in my videos. And Gary Foley, you're one of the intro no folks, so you said the contrast was too much. I have taken that advice on board, and I've tried to sort of create less contrast in this version we have here. So I no doubt have missed a bunch of you. Thank you to everyone who's been watching the series and providing comments. Now, let's get on with it. I'm on my iPhone today because here's where I've been adding my recent tracks. So we're now going to dive in. I'm going to show you what I've been doing, some of the additions, and then, as was suggested, we're going to play the track through at the end of the song per James Moon's suggestion. So let's jump in now and get going. Okay, we are back, and here is our very familiar, although slightly unfamiliar now, track. So we'll go through what we've done here. You'll see that I've got another drum kit added here. I've done some more with our bassoon and our strings. We haven't really done much with the piano. We've got an electric piano and an organ in here now. We've got a couple of synths in here now, and the rest of it's been left pretty much as is with our guitars and our drums. So what I've been doing is filling out the arrangement in the last couple of days. So we've gone from having a fairly guitar and piano heavy arrangement to providing some pads and some things that are going to make this arrangement sound better, and I've also made some changes to the opening. So let's start with that. So here is the somewhat controversial intro section that we have here. Now what I've done is I've done some ridiculous automation here, which you can see goes all over the shop, and I'm not convinced on this. You can let me know if I'm gone a little bit crazy with this, but what I wanted this to do, the reason I've got two tracks here is that I've got one panned left, this top track, I've got this track panned right, and this track sitting in the middle. the middle track there. I've got some effects on this track, which is one of the echo tape producer effects to provide some sort of echo and ambience here. And the reason I've got the automation volume going up and down sort of opposite each other is to create a bit of a panning effect. I'm not convinced it sounds amazing, but you can be the judge of that in a moment. We'll then take a look at what else we've added here. So we've got a drum kit added here, which is just playing along. So these aren't on the grid because they're playing along with the little sample that we have here, which is not in the time of the song. And I've also added some bassoon to this opening part and some cello and some double bass to complement this. So instead of it just being the sample that we had originally, it's now the sample with these additional instruments. So I'm going to play you the opening now so that you can see what it's sounding like here. So there you go. It's an idea. It's something I've been working on. I don't hate it. I need to stop saying that. I do like it because I think it just adds a little bit more. I like the echo in here. It adds a bit more ambience and atmosphere to it. I'll play you just the instruments that I've added so you can hear the instrumentation of what we've put in there. It was difficult, and obviously I can't quantize this, so I've had to play these pretty much perfectly, even though they're not quite perfect. But you'll hear just what the accompaniment for this sample sounds like now. And then we go into our main part of the track. So on its own, it sounds a little bit strange, but when you bring it back in with the rest of the track, yeah, I'm already not liking that panning, so the panning effect's probably going to go, but it's just another idea. Like it's to the point that was made earlier, it kind of changes up that contrast a little bit, and I think it also adds a little bit to the intro. You've got some of the instruments, it's not complete change from one thing to the other, so some of these instruments then carry on into our main section. So let me know what you think. I'm not married to it, but at the same time, I think it creates a little bit more variety, which is what I was going for here. Let's move on because we've got some other instruments to start talking about that we've changed and added in here. Now, one of the bits of advice I got was changing the piano for an organ, which I did actually try. And let me just show you what that sounds like. If we go to our instrument here, and instead of this piano playing this part, we go and we make it our organ, go the classic rock organ. Let's just have a listen to this. I didn't mind it, but I think the piano really needs to do these shorter notes. So just listen to this on its own, and then I'll put it in the mix. And yeah, it probably needs to be transposed up an octave if I was going to use that anyway, because it's much lower there for some reason. But I didn't really like the organ doing these little hits, but I did want an organ in here. So let's throw our piano back on that track. And now if we go, you'll notice that I do have the rock organ here. So it's not playing in the intro section, but we do have it coming in here playing a complementary sort of organ. I'm actually using an autoplay here. The first time I've used an autoplay in a song for a long time, but this is autoplay 4, I believe, on the organ, and by itself it sounds like this. So you can hear there I'm just changing up the bass, but I'm leaving the top end sounding the same. And in the mix, it just adds a little bit more flavour. So when you sort of bury it down there, it's really just creating a bit of a pad underneath. I then wanted to take it into its own sort of solo part, which sounds like this. And again, back in the mix, sounds like this. And again, the reason I've added this in is that we don't have this in the first verse, but we have it in the second. And this is what I've talked about a lot of times about songwriting, is that you need variety. So your second verse and your second chorus can't be a replica of your first chorus and first verse. Otherwise, the song's going to start sounding boring. So this just adds a little bit more depth to this second chorus. Second verse. And then, again, right here at the end, we just bring it home with a slightly different pattern on the organ here for the final outro part, which sounds like this. Sorry, my mistake. That is just a repeat of the... that is the second chorus, which is repeating the first one. We've then got a little stab in here. Which just plays in the second half of our bridge. And now this is the part I was talking about, which is our final outro, where we have a slightly different variation on these chords. And again, that's just adding some more variety, some more depth to that final outro part, which once we have the vocals back in, when I record some good vocals in the next episode, you'll be able to hear what that's going to sound like. Okay, let's move on now. We've got some more keys here to get to. We've got the electric piano, and apologies that I didn't actually show me recording this, but we've had a lot of really long videos, plus I was on a plane while I did most of this, so I didn't want another long video, and I didn't want, you to have to sort of see me juggle a couple of phones while I tried to record myself playing these. So I've got this electric piano part, which doesn't come in for quite a while, but when we get to this section here, we have an arpeggiated piano, which will sound like this. So you can hear there's a bit of a stereo effect on there, and it's sitting underneath the mix, so in the section it sounds like this. And then when we come down here and we get to our next one, so it's only sort of there for half of it. And then again, to provide some variety, we bring it back in for both parts in the next section, which sounds like this. And again, in the mix, you're not going to hear that stand out at all, but it just provides, again, a little bit of padding, a little bit of interest to the mix. If someone's listening to that, they're not just hearing a piano and some guitars. They probably don't even know that they're hearing an arpeggiated electric piano, but it's going to make the mix sound a bit better. Let's come right to the end here, and it comes back in like this. You can hear there again, the end of the second chorus, we have that variety coming in again, just to change it up. And then for the very end, we have a repeating pattern, which will play this. So there it is again. That's for this outro part, just to add some additional kind of oomph and punch to this. And that's it. That goes through to the end. So we're getting there. Again, give me feedback on these if you think some are great or needed to change or are not good. Then by all means, let me know, and we'll address that in the upcoming videos. We still have a few videos left. We need to do our final mixing and arranging decisions, so we've got plenty of scope to change things if we want to. Let's get into these last two, and then we'll give you a playthrough of the full song. So we have the connect chords. Now, all of these you'll notice are only coming at the end. So these are some additional synths and pads that we want just at the end. So this one here, I'll just play it by itself for now. Sounds like this. So again, by itself, not really much. We'll turn the volume up and put it in the mix so we can hear what it sounds like. So that part is just adding to the second part of that bridge, and then it's in our final sort of outro part that we have this other section added in like this. And then as we get to the very end, it changes up again to this. So you might be thinking at this point, well, this is a bit weird. We've got these electronic sounds. We've got these synth sounds in what is basically a rock track here now. And by the way, I do realise that I said I was going to create a jazzy big band song. Yeah, it kind of hasn't happened. But if you listen to the likes of Radiohead, your Coldplay, Muse, a lot of the great bands that are rock bands, they'll have a lot of these sort of pads and synths in their fully produced songs because it just adds some interest level and it just creates some variety in the song. So you're not just hearing guitars and piano and vocals, you're hearing these things and you're probably not even really hearing them, but they're adding to the experience. So you're just thinking, oh wow, that's a great guitar part, not realizing that there's probably 3 or 4 other sort of undertone pads and synths that are going on there. Anyway, let's go to our last item here, which is these shifting up patterns. So this is, again, you can see there, it's just kind of like a one held down part, and you probably, or you may have been able to hear this as we've been going along, but let's just play what it sounds like by itself. So again, arpeggiated, just adding some interest in there. Oop, we won't move that, that's going to cause problems. So let's just go back to where this comes in and put it back in our mix. So you can hear with those two synths all the way up, it's not exactly sounding wonderful. So if we put those back down though, and go back to this starting section, you'll hear that they just sort of sit in the background. There you go. So that is it. I don't actually have time at this point to go in and show you all the panning decisions, but you will have noticed as you've been watching these waveforms that we've got some panning going on between the left and the right. So I'm starting to do my mixing. I don't want to have to sit down and make all my panning decisions at the end. So I'm throwing some of these keys and synths to the left, some to the right, some sitting in the middle to create that nice stereo field that we've got. So that is it for now. I hope you found this interesting and thank you for your ideas. You can see that a lot of them have been implemented in here. I've definitely tried to create some contrast and some variety in the intro. I've changed up the drums. Probably some of the things I do need to still look at is the shaker. So I think it was Riley that said we need a shaker. Isabella probably needs to come back in here in some parts and add a shaker. I still haven't looked at the tambourine per the suggestion and change that to a bell, but I will look at that offline and see what that sounds like. The organ I love having in there, so thank you for whoever that was that suggested the organ. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of other suggestions that I've implemented as we've been going along, but it doesn't end here. We've still got a week left in this challenge, so please throw your ideas, your suggestions down below, and thank you as always for watching. Thank you for all of your kind words and all of your encouragement and feedback, and we are just 7 days away now from releasing our final mastered version of this song, which is pretty exciting. Yes, we need some vocals. So I've left the vocals off here because they, to be honest, they detract from it. But let's go out with a full end-to-end playing of the current instrumental version of For the Birds.